Hi, it's Rupert Hine here from Action Coach near Kinross, and I'm joined today by Selby Cary from Lens Labs. Welcome, Selby.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, so Selby, tell me, you're a serial entrepreneur, and the latest of your ventures is Lens Labs. What is it?
So actually, Lens Labs is rebranding. So by the time this comes out, I imagine it'll be wider known that will be called Mapify or Mapify Logistics to be specific. So Mapify provides asset visualization tools for logistics professionals. And essentially, we are the combination of a data platform and asset visualization in one place. So imagine if Excel and Google Maps had a baby. That's us. What this allows our customers to do is to see all their asset information in one place. So maintenance, compliance, incidents, asset details, documentation, media, you name it, you can visualize it on a map or a diagram. And this makes their life much easier. So for one of our customers, they're saving anywhere between 4 to 6 hours per day per person who normally has to process all their data in a spreadsheet and then make a decision. And there's obviously a lot of errors, it's time consuming, it's very messy. And we've made that as simple as 3 clicks. So within 3 clicks, you can see that information, quickly filter, understand, prioritize, and make a decision, a data-driven decision. So they can obviously reduce asset downtime, they can save money, they can increase revenue potential by not essentially falling down at the last moment when they actually need to deliver on an order or a maintenance job. So it's been quite exciting. I'm really happy rather to see customers, relieved and time saved. Imagine spending 4 to 6 hours a day in a spreadsheet, bang your hand against a table, and then you have a tool that allows you to view that and visualize it. So your workload obviously gets less. You can deliver better quality, and overarchingly feel a bit more positive. So that's the thing that gets me up in the morning is, our customers being excited, being happy, and us solving one of their core problems.
Absolutely. So, what took you into developing that in the first place?
So Lens Labs, or the original company Lens Labs, was actually founded by my co-founder for Mapify, Hamish. And I've known Hamish now for maybe 3 years or so. And in the beginning, Hamish was developing a piece of hardware to help trains to brake better or safer in certain areas, especially when there is low friction conditions. So like if it's raining or there's lots of leaves on the line in autumn or there's snow. And that was the initial technology behind Lens Labs. And then Hamish stumbled upon this problem around maintenance on the railway and the fact that to understand where the maintenance problems are was quite difficult and it was all managed in a spreadsheet. So he undertook a project with Network Rail, who are one of our main customers, to understand where this maintenance is and visualize that in some sort of platform. So he won a contract with Network Rail in 2022, and that led to building the alpha version of the Lens Labs platform, which is used by Network Rail. Now that was towards the end of 2023. And so that's when I saw it. And I had been working with Hamish to try and help him transition away from hardware and to move through the challenges of, changing your team structure, building a new product in a new space and understanding, how to scale software. So when I saw that product, in its full glory, sure, it wasn't the best designed or there was room for growth and improvement, but I saw the opportunity. And when I looked at it and I realized that you have a paying customer or users that are really excited by this, you're solving a really big problem for them. And that's just one niche in rail maintenance or seasonal maintenance. That got me very excited. And I saw this as being an asset management solution that's much easier than using some sort of large enterprise package with loads of data being displayed. And I've used those in the past. Being able to see them on a map and to be able to see them quickly and access that information within seconds, that's what excited me. And then I spent essentially the last 9 to 10 months going out and exploring how this could be used in other industries within the logistics space. So road freight, warehousing, even heat networks, so a range of different areas, and understanding how they managed it. So that's how the kind of journey evolved to what Mapify has become today. And we've really focused in on the fact that we're mapping all your assets. We're very clear on that, and that's become the messaging of the product. It just makes it more simple and easy to understand. All we do is map your assets and tell you where they are and what you need to do. And most importantly, we save time. And that's something that really, really resonates with me. I've built spreadsheets. I've worked for multiple companies in the past, and it's always been time. 4 hours is actually quite low. Sometimes it would take me weeks to analyze a data set. So be able to do that in seconds, it just makes my life so much easier.
So, So often you get, you've got you and Hamish have come together. Hamish has developed the original concept. You've seen the potential for this to get into a wide range of industries. How have you structured the business between you to trade on your strengths?
I guess there's different ways of approaching this. One is when you are building a business, you need to understand where the core functions are. So for example, with Mapify, we are a software business. So we're not a hardware business. So it was important when I first joined for us to agree what the business is. Are we building a hardware product, which is something I've done in the past. I built a semi-autonomous all-terrain robotic vehicle in another business called Zebra Robotics. And that had many challenges, but we did too much. We did the hardware, we did the machine vision, we did the software, we did the autonomy, we did the control systems, the transmission, and we spread ourselves way too thin. So when I joined Lens, obviously now Mapify, my first goal was to understand what are we going to be? What is this business? And we were very clear that we're going to be a software business. We're going to focus on delivering value through managing assets, specifically with maintenance, which is what we started. And then that's obviously evolved now to acquire more data. So that's kind of how we started. So understanding that. And then when it came to responsibilities, which is obviously the next thing, now we know who we are, where we're going, and we kind of agreed on a vision, at least a rough vision, which then evolved into the Mapify vision, is to be able to map assets and make asset management more accessible, make data-driven decision-making more accessible. Then it came down to responsibilities. Who's going to do what? And essentially, because Hamish had already built out an understanding of the market, initially in rail, and understood the customer needs really well, had already raised some investment, so he built the relationship with shareholders. That was a perfect position for him to hold as a CEO, and that's what he'd done so far. So it meant that there were other areas which perhaps Hamish had to balance, as well as his main role as CEO, and that's where I fit in. So the way I like to describe it is I help to build, launch, and scale tech startups. So my focus is mainly on the business building aspects. So that includes product development in the software realm, commercialization, but also software operations. So it's all well and good that you build a great product and you've got customers who want it. But as soon as you launch that product, if it doesn't work reliably, and for example, you can't get the right certification or accreditation, you can't maintain quality, and your systems fall down, then the business doesn't last very long. So I'm mostly concerned about making sure that the business survives, whereas perhaps Hamish is concerned about making sure the business grows. And that's the way that we structured it. Obviously, we have a wider team. There are many other members of Mapify who do specific duties, a lot of them fractionally, from engineers to designers, marketing, operations. And together, we obviously form this sort of dream team. But we clearly define our responsibilities. We know where we live. We come together to make big strategic decisions, but it means that we can then go off, deliver value, knowing that we are all on the same page. And that's really important, not just in a co-founding relationship, but also in any sort of business relationship with your colleagues, making sure you know what each other's doing, not all the time, not micromanaging, but clearly articulating, you're off to speak to new users, you're off to design the front end, to implement it, to perhaps to deal with bugs. And that way everyone's on the same page. And hopefully the miscommunication or the issues that arise are minimal rather than functional in a large corporate organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so often you see in small businesses, two partners who effectively try to do everything, and the confusion reigns. So you've talked there about the importance of being able to deliver what you promise, and the challenge when you're growing, of being able to do that. What's the biggest piece of advice you could give growing small businesses about maintaining quality and delivery?
I think the first thing to remember is that you need to understand where you're going and what you're trying to achieve. Quality, quality has very many facets, right? So there's quality in terms of reliability. There's quality in terms of, like, let's say, excellence. There's quality in terms of the components and what you actually deliver. So being clear on like what your goal is really important. Otherwise, you can try and set yourselves unrealistic goals and either not achieve them, or you miss those targets and you actually never achieve them at all, right? And that's something that we need to be worried about. So when we're talking about that, we always think about what is it that is most valuable to our customers. So for example, it's reliability. If I log into the platform, will it work as intended every time? If the answer is yes, that's quality for us. Then once we've hit that particular reliability goal, that's our metric, as we start to scale, the quality message changes, or it morphs, it has more facets. So then it becomes about how do we deliver more value? So the quality becomes around the excellence or the quality of the product. So it could be a design related metric. So can we get our users to understand the product faster? Can they access features faster without needing to go through some sort of onboarding? Is it intuitive? That becomes a design quality. And the same with things like the speed of querying. So from a technical perspective, can we get them information faster? Can we obscure some of the aspects of our product? And then when you get to the larger scale, where actually you need to go for some sort of cybersecurity accreditation or adopt some quality management system, then it's about the process. Can we repeat the process over and over again and ensure that this quality is maintained as we grow? So let's say 10,000 users or 100 customers. Can we ensure that what we've delivered for customer number 1 is the same as customer number 101? And at different stages of your journey, those will be different. So being very clear what that means to you right now is important, because when you're only 2 people or a team of 10 working fractionally and a team of 100, your definitions are very different. So my piece of advice to any founders when they're going through this journey is be very clear what stage you're at and what good looks like. If you try and achieve good for a 100-person company, you may end up doing things that are unnecessary too soon. Or you may end up spending a lot of time and money building something that you never actually achieve, or in a direction that is not suitable for your particular type of business. And the analogy is that if you don't know where you're going, you can run in the wrong direction very, very fast. So not only now do you have to go back to where you started and then continue on the journey you initially should have been on, but now you've wasted all that time and energy and you've ended up in a place that you didn't intend. So being very, very clear on your objectives is probably the most important lesson I've learned.
Absolutely. If you understand where you want to get to and you understand the values that you want people to respect you for, it's a powerful starting place. You've mentioned the amount of time that Mapify is going to save your customers, and time's it's the most powerful force in the universe. It's the one resource we will never get any more of.
Exactly.
How do I mean, you're in the midst of 10-month-old startup. You're growing fast. You've got inquiries coming in. You've got just this morning building demonstrations for new clients and all this going on, as well as the other businesses in the background. And what have you found is the most powerful technique you use for being able to manage your investment of time?
Well, I think that's probably the $1 billion question. If you can get that perfectly right, I think you can achieve anything. The way that I kind of look at it is I have a finite amount of time as myself, but my team or our team has a finite amount of time as well. So it's not just my own time that I'm concerned of, it's the time of everyone around me. And once you understand that all that time is valuable, and by proxy, there's a knock-on effect. If I make a choice that choice then impacts the designer, impacts then the front-end engineer, and so on and so forth, and then a customer. So I always try and say to myself, what is the most important thing that I can do right now that will move the needle, that will increase value? I do that with my personal life. Obviously, I use a lot of time boxing, so I'm a big fan of my calendar. And a calendar to me is just a box of time. And I know there's certain things that I try not to breach. So I like to make sure that I get a good 9-hour sleep. I make sure that I try and clock off no later than 8 p.m. Now, for some people, that's a bit crazy because they think, well, what about your 9 to 5? Well, yeah, I quit my 9 to 5 and now I do 24/7. So, but I try and set those limits. So within those limits, I've got a box of time and I can allocate sessions. Now, I have quite a few responsibilities, so I break them down into those key areas. So it might be commercial in terms of speaking to customers and closing deals. It might be product, so developing demos with them and working with our designer to implement that. And then working with the engineering team to answer any technical questions and to project manage and plan. And that's just on that layer. And then, of course, you've got the general operations, everything from fundraising, financial modeling. IT systems, general operational structure, applying for, grants or whatever it may be. And then you've got the marketing side. So there's two different functions that I play. One is obviously the product engineering and commercial, which is delivering value for customers. And the other area is the general business. You would do that regardless of any business you're in, you would market and then you'd raise money. So I try and split it out depending on the needs. So for any given week, I make sure that I'm clear that I'm moving the needle a little bit on customers. So maybe half a day always working with customers, half a day always working on design, moving that needle. So at least 20% of my time is spent on the future. And then at least, let's say, half a day on engineering, half a day on project management, so that I know that the team, which we have 10 people in total, the team is able to move forward. Because if I stop for a couple of weeks and I don't give direction, then we end up in a point where I'm the blocker. So it's very challenging. It's kind of like spinning plates, but I find that if you manage it from your calendar perspective, you can use some sort of color coding scheme and you time box it. It's very clear what you can do over a 2, 3 week, 4 week, 5 period. And then I love using project management tools like Jira. Some people don't like them. I find them quite useful to just visualize it from a month's perspective. So this month is this goal, this month is that goal. And it means that if I don't achieve these things, the knock-on effect means I can't do that. And we regularly review that on at least a monthly basis where we'll go through and say, we just can't deliver on these features anymore or these. Which ones are most important? Let's prioritize those. And it's not a bad thing. It's sort of a good process to go through where you ask yourself, if I could only do this one thing, what should I do? And priorities sometimes can blur the lines. So we always think, what is our priority? And this month, it may be priority is get the product release, make sure it's stable, priority. And then everything else will be different layers below that. So once that is sorted, everything else will then filter. And then you can also split that to different teams. So once we have a clear goal of what we are after, each team or each individual can have their own priority. So it might be deliver, let's say, working high quality data set, ensure architecture or infrastructure is operating and optimized. It could be ensure all tickets for front end have been delivered, all from that one priority that I've set, which is stable platform, that all filters down. And that sort of clarity of objective of purpose, making sure you know what is valuable rather than just rushing about doing everything you can to try and fill the time, or you've got 100 things on your list, so you start from the top of the list. That doesn't always work. You need to understand what in the list is the most important to do right now, because that will change tomorrow. That'll change in a month's time. And 6 months' time, it might be a completely different business. So we are constantly evaluating what is valuable, what's important, and then you focus on what matters most.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what would you say when you look back over your career so far, businesses you've created? What's the one piece of advice you would give yourself if you were starting out again?
I think I've given myself this advice many times, and I still to this day repeat it to myself because it's very hard when you're building something new to have all the answers. There are always things that you just do not know, and sometimes you can be a bit hard on yourself. So the piece of advice that I give myself and others is that you can only make the best decision at the time with the information available. Obviously, what that means is, what is the best decision? It's the one where you have as much information to make said decision. If you don't have enough information, you go and get some more. If you perhaps don't feel like you have enough knowledge about how to make that decision, given that information, you go and find someone who has done that before, ideally. But outside of that, once you've got all the information in one place, you've got all the right people around the table to help you make that decision, everything else is just semantics. And then you just have to make that decision and move on. You can perhaps get stuck on that decision and say, what if this happened? What if that happened? Or, oh, I wish this could occur. Or if only we had this, right? That is really, really hard. And especially as a first-time founder, you haven't been through it before. So you're unable to kind of deal with those emotions because it's an emotional roller coaster, right? You go from highs and successes of winning contracts or deals, launching products, and you get very excited, to a low of suddenly something breaks and all your customers' tools shut down, or the platform doesn't work, and customers are now really upset, or they want to pull a contract because of that. So you need to deal with all those highs and lows. And what does help me is just remembering that I can only do my best with the information available. Everything else is outside of my control.
And Yeah, it's the challenge. I get involved in emergency response within the world of motorsport, and it's just that, you've got a set of information available to you. Make a dynamic plan, but be prepared to commit fully to the plan when you've made it, but at the same time keep it under review, because as circumstances change, you may need to reevaluate and rechange the plan. Um,
Nothing is certain.
no. But it's always better when you've made a decision.
Exactly. It's hard to sometimes accept the decision. So it's very quick. You can make a decision in a split second, right? But it's accepting that that's the right decision, or making sure that you had some sort of process you went through to make that decision. Otherwise, later on, you might regret it. And even if you feel that regret, what I've said to myself is, what could I have done better? And is there some sort of system or process that I can build into my own thinking that might help me? So when I encounter a problem now, I ask myself, is this a problem that I've seen before? The answer is no. Then what can I do? Do I go research? Do I ask for help? Do I start trialing it, trial and error? Do I now go down a different route and actually avoid this, like sandbox it, or maybe put it to the side and block it out, or remove it from my path? And those are some things that really help me. So there's many ways to move around an object in your path, like a rock. You can walk over it, around it. You can blow the rock up. You can actually move the rock. You can dig under it and go through it. So there's many ways you can overcome a problem. And sometimes people don't realize that you can actually turn around. Right? You don't have to take this path. If you've got one rock, two rocks, three rocks in front of you, obstacles that are almost insurmountable, you could spend all your resource moving that. But right after that rock or after that obstacle is another one, maybe even bigger. So perhaps the path you've taken is not the right one. There's many ways of getting to the same destination. And bearing that in mind has really helped me to realize that if something does happen, there is always other options. There is always another option. Just because I can't see it does not mean it's not there.
Absolutely. That's been fascinating. So, being really clear on where you're at, what your objectives are, where you're going, being ruthless in how you manage your investment of time, um, and making good decisions
Trying your best to make good decisions. Yeah.
with the information you've got at the time. That's fantastic. Look, thank you very much for sharing all that with us today. That's been really helpful, and wish you all the best with taking Mapify to more and more logistics companies to manage their assets.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it.